Hey guys, welcome back to Healing Fibromyalgia's YouTube channel. I'm Paula, and for those of you that haven't seen my videos previously, I'm here talking about my healing fibromyalgia journey, the things that I've done over the last 18 months which have allowed me to become medication free. I've been able to get myself back to work. I am healthy, I am exercising, I'm out running, I'm going to the gym. I am completely 180 to where I was 18 months ago, and I want to share all that information with you. I want to tell you all the things that I've done, because fibromyalgia is a really rough ride, and nobody deserves this diagnosis. It's really tough. You feel like you are on your own. And I promise you, the things that I've learned over the last few weeks in sharing my journey, both on YouTube and on TikTok, is that actually you're not on your own. There are so many people out there suffering with fibromyalgia, and it's so frustrating to think that, like me, the doctors aren't really coming up with any solutions for long-term management of our symptoms. And the more we can share, the things that are working and giving us relief, the more people can benefit from that, and the less people that are going to be debilitated by this horrific illness. So today I want to talk about what actually fibromyalgia is, what are the symptoms, how do you get diagnosed? So firstly, what is fibromyalgia? Fibromyalgia is a problem with our nervous system. So we have nerves, and they go from our brain all the way down our spine, and then they go out into all areas of our body, and our nerves are there to give information back to our brain about the environment both in our body and also the environment around us. The brain then processes that information, and it will allow our body to do certain processes based on the information it's being given. If with fibromyalgia, there is a problem in how the nerves are sending the signals to the brain and then how the brain is interpreting them, that's when we get symptoms of pain. So the doctors are now saying that they believe there's enough evidence to say that in the first 18 years of our lives, something significant will have happened when our nervous system was being developed. So it could be that we would have had a viral infection, or it could have been a significant trauma. Now, one of those two things could have compromised my nervous system, developing at the time when it should have developed to be basically, it's got compromised along the way. There's a problem. Something hasn't developed properly. So we already have a compromised nervous system. And the problem with that is every time we put extra stress on our nervous system, it gets to the point where it can't cope. So our nerves are sending signals up to our brain. Our brain is going, I feel like there's a problem. It could be a problem inside our body. It could be a problem outside our body. And although our brains are really clever, they're not clever enough to determine what that problem is. It just knows there is a problem. And the only thing it's got is to be able to give you a signal to say, change it. And our brain is giving you pain, it's giving you fatigue, and it's giving you brain fog, because it knows there is a problem. And the more of these symptoms it gives you, the more chance you're going to go, actually, if there is a problem, I'm going to change it. And then you're going to take that pressure off of your nervous system. But we've got to the point where actually, because we don't really understand that this is the process and this is what's happening in our bodies, when our brain is creating this pain, we just carry on. So we carry on living our lives and putting all the stresses in our body, on our body that we do. We feed ourselves with a load of processed food. We feed ourselves with a load of inflammatory oils. We put a load of chemicals on our skin and in our hair and in our clothes. And then we still stress ourselves out doing a ridiculous amount of work. Work might be really stressful, or the children might be really stressful, or your life's just really stressful, or you're carrying significant amount of trauma from your past, or you have toxic relationships. And all of these things are adding another layer of stress onto your overworked, compromised nervous system. And because it is already compromised, your nervous system cannot handle the amount of stress that other people's nervous systems can. And if we don't change those amounts of layers of stress that we're putting on, we get to the point where we're really, really sick. And if we get really, really sick and we still don't make any changes, our symptoms are going to get worse, and they're going to get worse, and they're going to get worse, which was where I found myself. I spent so much of my time in so much pain, in bed because my fatigue was so high, not being able to use my brain because my brain fog was so significant. Some days I couldn't even have a conversation because I couldn't get the words out. So we have to understand what fibromyalgia is in order for us to try and heal. Now, when you go to the doctors for a diagnosis, quite often you go to your GP initially and you may say, I've got this pain. Mine started in my hands and my feet. I've got this pain. And the doctor will say, okay, well, let's have a look at how we treat your pain. And we look at one individual symptom. And as time progresses, you might have other pains, which will happen in other areas of your body, or you might have high levels of fatigue. But because those symptoms are presenting and you're going to the doctors and you're talking about them on an individual basis, quite often the doctors don't have enough time in your appointments to join the dots together. It might take a significant period of time before you see your GP and actually they think maybe this could be fibromyalgia. So fibromyalgia isn't a diagnosis of a specific thing that they can find in your body. It's actually the reverse. So you should have some blood tests done as part of your diagnosis for fibromyalgia. The doctors are going to look at these blood tests, and what they're actually going to do is they're going to look for markers of other things. They're going to make sure that you haven't got any underlying conditions that if we get diagnosed with fibromyalgia, they're not going to then see. So they're looking for markers of things that could indicate cancer, or they are looking for markers that could indicate arthritis or anything else that's not fibromyalgia. If they get to the point where they've done blood work, potentially it could be an x-ray, you could be presenting with a really bad pain in your back, for instance, and they're going to send you for an x-ray to make sure that there's no physical damage. Once they've ruled out anything physical in your body, and you're still left with these symptoms of widespread pain, you could have pain in specific areas, you could have things like migraines. If they get to the point where they can't pin it down to being something else, that's the point that they're going to consider it to be fibromyalgia. So fibromyalgia is not a diagnosis of something, it's almost a diagnosis of exclusion. So they're going to exclude everything else and then they're going to leave you with a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. Very similar to what they do if you get diagnosed with IBS. So it's not something that's specifically there, but they're going to rule out everything else being there. And obviously you're still presenting with these symptoms, and these symptoms need to be labelled into something that you can understand. So your GP could diagnose you with fibromyalgia. They may also refer you to a rheumatologist. So a rheumatologist is a consultant, somebody that specialises in pain. I saw a rheumatologist consultant when I was diagnosed in 2017. He looked at my blood work. He also did a pressure point test. There's 18 pressure points in your body that they're looking, that when they press them, to see how you react. And based on your reaction to that and your blood work and your symptoms, they're going to talk about your symptoms. They will then come up with a diagnosis for you. And that's the normal standard process of being diagnosed with fibromyalgia. So it's really important to understand it's not a specific thing. Everybody's fibromyalgia presents in different ways. Just because you may have certain things and somebody else has other things doesn't make it not fibromyalgia, because there is such a big spectrum of symptoms that fit into that. The symptoms that predominantly occur with fibromyalgia, and this is something I'm asked all the time, because people will say, I don't feel very well, I'm thinking it's this, but could it be based on my symptoms? Now, fibromyalgia, from what I have understood by talking to so many thousands of people on TikTok, is very often doesn't happen in isolation. So quite often there will be something else going on in your body at the same time. I had endometriosis and adenomyosis before I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And I always wondered whether or not that could have had an implication on my fibromyalgia symptoms. I also had glandular fever, which is Epstein-Barr virus when I was in my teens, and now that makes sense. They're talking about viral infections compromising your nervous system when it was developing. So I think all of these things do have a layer of stress that they add onto your body. So people may suffer with things like endometriosis, but it could also be arthritis. You could be in a lot of pain because you're in arthritis, or you have arthritis, and then your body gets to the point where you've also got fibromyalgia on the top. Because if you can imagine, if you have another pain condition, imagine all the stress that is putting on your body. Your body's physically in pain all the time, and when you already have a compromised nervous system, it doesn't take much to tip that balance. And then all of a sudden, we've got fibromyalgia symptoms as well as what we've already got. So symptoms of fibromyalgia, the common ones are widespread pain. So pain can occur in any area of your body. Mine started with my hands and my feet. I also had pain in my ribs and in my jaw. And then as my fibromyalgia progressed, I got to the point where the pain in my legs was so bad that I couldn't walk without a walking stick. I couldn't walk more than a few steps even with a walking stick, and was having to use a mobility scooter. I had pain in my collarbones and pain in my back. But each of those areas of pain in my body presented in different ways. So in my legs, I would have really, really sharp stabbing pains almost, as well as a burning pain. So my legs would always feel like they were on fire, as well as these specific parts of the muscles that would feel really sharp, intense pain. The collarbone pain was really sharp, and then the pain across my back felt like a burning pain. So different pains, different areas of my body, but the pain was significant, and it was really widespread. And I know that some people have really bad migraines, or some people have really bad pains in their arms. So pains in specific areas of your body, mine progressed, and I seemed to get more pain as the time went on. The other symptoms that are really prevalent are things like fatigue. So fatigue is not, I'm just feeling tired and I need to go and have a sleep. Fatigue is that it's almost like down to a cellular level. So your cells in your body are not making energy in the same way other people who don't have fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue make energy. So at that real cellular level, with the mitochondria in your cell, they're just not making the energy in the same way. So when you do something, the tiredness is not just tiredness, it's tiredness not just within your brain and I'm feeling sleepy and my eyes are tired. It's a tiredness that affects your entire body, and even moving your body can really hurt from the fatigue. So it's a slightly different pain to the widespread pain that you would have with fibromyalgia, but you still get huge amounts of pain from fatigue because your body is just absolutely exhausted. And I say to people, when you try and describe your fatigue, it's not just saying I'm tired, because people that don't have fibromyalgia can't understand that. If you want to say, I'm so tired, I feel like I could be sick on my feet, like I can't move my body kind of tiredness. And again, for me, that was progressive. So at the beginning, my fatigue wasn't as high. And over time, it progressively got to the point where I would have to spend weeks and weeks and weeks in bed. The other prevalent thing with fibromyalgia is brain fog. So when your brain is massively inflamed, the cells in your brain are massively inflamed, they're not going to be working properly. And we already know that fibromyalgia is affected by your nervous system. Your nervous system starts in your brain. And all those signals that are going back up from your nerves, back up to your brain, and then being interpreted by your brain, are misfiring and your brain is confusing some of those signals, and then you're getting pain. But along with getting pain, your brain is getting confused. And people have described brain fog as almost resembling dementia. So the symptoms can be very similar to dementia. It's almost like your brain is regressing back in a similar way to if you were suffering from dementia, because I would have days where I couldn't find the right words in a sentence. I would become really disorientated. When I would have a conversation with somebody, I couldn't work out the tone I was supposed to be talking, and then that what I was saying might come across in the wrong way, because my brain it was just like it was on a real go slow. It was really difficult. It was like trudging through sludge. And again, that was a progression of symptoms that came through as my fibromyalgia went on. And we got from 2007 to 18 months ago, and there was no medication seemed to make these symptoms any better. The doctors couldn't do any more. They got to the point where there was no more medications for them to give. And I really hit a low point. I didn't know where else to turn, and I didn't know what else to do. So I did huge amounts of research, and I researched and I researched and I researched. And like I said at the beginning of this video, it's allowed me to get to the point where I'm now back at work. I'm now enjoying my life. Like I'm able to go out with my friends and my family. I'm able to go out and exercise. I'm able to go out and run. I'm able to be available for people, as in like they have my full attention when we're having a conversation. And that's so... It was so alien to where I was 18 months ago. And honestly, I never ever thought that was possible. So guys, I am going to keep sharing the things that I've done along my journey. I hope that gives you some information about what fibromyalgia is. I hope it gives you the information to be more armed about what you're dealing with. And if there are things that you would specifically like me to make videos about that would be relevant to you and where you are at your point in your fibromyalgia journey, please let me know in the comments. Please keep liking these videos. Please subscribe to the channel. Share these videos as much as possible, because I know there's people out there, way more people out there that are suffering with fibromyalgia than I ever realised. I'm going to keep making these videos. I'm going to keep sharing everything I've done. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate that, and I'll see you at the next video.